Welcome back to PracticalStudent.com. This is part 7, the last of the parts with drawings. It's the switch pad, which is basically just kind of like a remote control. It is attached by a wire, but you can still move it away from the project to control it. Made from 1.5mm brass. Reasonably simple piece to mark out. So let's get down to it. So I've already ensured that my piece is square and slightly larger than what I need. So I'm going to draw the outline of it first, but I'm going to add in a couple of dimensions across the bottom. We can see that the part is 60mm across. We have a hole at 30mm and another hole at 10mm from the right edge, which is 50mm from the left. So I'm going to mark on the piece where 30, 50 and 60 are. And using my T-square, I'm going to T-square the 30 up a little bit, about that far. I'm going to T-square the 50 up about the same distance. And I'm going to T-square the 60 all the way up. So we have our outline on this side. Now if we look at our drawing, we have at 30mm from the bottom we have a bend line. At 110 we have the top of the piece, and at 100, 10 down from 110, we have our other bend line. So I'm going to mark those now. I'm going to mark 30, 100 and 110. T-square lines across at those heights. I'm going to dash the two bend lines. As you've probably gathered at this stage, I like to do that. It highlights the lines for later use. So everything above that 110 line is waste and will be cut off later on, and everything to the right of the 60 line is waste and will be cut off later on. And sometimes it's a good idea just to scratch those and make sure that that's apparent. So I have these two holes to mark out now. One is going to be drilled with a 5mm, but that will depend on your switch. The switch I have, I think, is good for a 5. I'll check that later on, but I only need a centre and another for the wires coming out. So it's 16mm up the 30 line. And 20mm up the 50 line. And I'm going to centre punch both of those. Right, the last thing we have to do are the fillets on the 4 corners. Now every time you want to do a fillet, look at the radius. The centre of the fillet is the radius away from the edges. So in this case it's 5. So I'm going to measure in 5 and up 5. I'm going to try and do this as easily as possible. I'm going to measure 5mm up from the bottom. And I'm going to measure 5mm down from the top. I'm going to T-square those a little bit on both sides. Now I'm going to measure on both of those. I'll just measure on the bottom and transfer the measurement up with a T-square. So I'm going to measure 5 millimeters in from the left. And we know 5 millimeters in from here is 55. And with a T-square then I'm going to transfer those measurements up to the other side. Center punch all of those 4 points. Try and be as light as possible. And I transferred it onto the wrong line there, so I'm just going to measure it quickly. Punch that. Now set your dividers to the radius, in this case 5 millimeters. And small little circles are always a little bit awkward. With a bit of practice you can get them. And again, they're just guides, so when you're filing you'll be able to fix up any little errors. And that's the part marked out. Now there's one little thing you could add on at the end. This bends in 2 directions, as you can see here. This bends down, we'll say, and this bends up. So we're going to have to flip it over when we bend it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to transfer this top measurement to the other side to save me hassle later on. So I'm going to get my scriber, and as accurately as I can see it, I'm going to line up and mark the other side. Then when I flip it over, I'm going to use my T-square to just draw a line across there. And later on I'll be able to use that line, which hopefully you can see there, to help me bend it. And that's that part marked out. So on to drilling now. I'm going to double check what size hole I need there. It's 5 or maybe a 6 and 3.5 here. So I checked out the push button switch, push to make switch, and it's actually a 6.5 that I need for this, not a 5 as it says in the drawing. So always double check these things. So just going to drill the 2 holes 3.5 first, and then drill that hole 6.5 afterwards. So sometimes with drill bits, especially if they're not very sharp, you can get a bit of push out the back. So just use the bigger drill bit then just to tidy up the backs. So I'm going to cut off the excess edges here with the guillotine and then file down the corners and then bend it. So the folding machine now has been set to 65 degrees, so I'm going to bend it on this line, the one near the holes. So that's that bend there. Now we're going to flip it over and bend it 20 degrees, so I need to reset this. So now we're reset to 20 degrees. I flipped the piece over. If you remember, we marked a line here when we were doing the marking out. If you didn't do that then, you need to do it now. And that's it, that's our part marked out. You can see there's a slight bend here, switch is going to go in there, and that's the last part completed. So the next stage now, I'm going to spend some time cleaning up these pieces, getting them nice, doing a bit of spray painting, and I'll see you for electronics and assembly in the next video. Thanks for watching.